Ooh, what up, what up, what up, fellas? We on a late live today, a late live today. I hope all is well with you and your family. It's your boy Nate. Welcome to another live stream of Memoir Men. We are on our sixth day of lives, and we're going to 15. So six is of 15, and we're going to simply just talk about things that men deal with, men topics. That's what Memoir Men is all about. For those of you who have been seeing the lives for the past few days, you know what's up. For those who are new, Memoir Men is simply a place, a platform where memoir men, look at their experiences, look at certain circumstances, things that they have gone through in the past, are currently going through, and reflect on them. And after, with some reflection, do some introspective work. Why do I think the way that I think? Why do I do the things that I do? What is my motivation behind it all? And am I emotionally connected when I'm doing these things, or am I absent in my emotion? Am I absent emotionally when I do these things, and why? Right. So we ask these probing, these challenging questions in order to bring to a place where we can take this. mm, what should I call it? What's the word? We should take this self knowledge, self awareness, and being able to take that to the future. So Memoir Men again is about reflection, introspection, progress, reflection, looking at circumstances, situations, introspection, internalize my motive for, or the reasons why I do the things that I do and think the way that I think, process them in order to progress, right? In order to progress. So again, that's what Memoir Men is all about. I've done this in the past. I'm doing a live stream now, but I've done this since 2017 with small groups, right? Small groups of men will jump on a line on Zoom usually, and we'll have a conversation. I may ask a probing question just to kind of spark up the conversation, and we get into some stuff. I love that platform because men who normally would kind of keep silent about certain things find themselves in a space where they can be vulnerable. And it's hard enough for men to be vulnerable, anyways. It's even more difficult to have men be vulnerable to other men. But the way that the platform is set up, it allows for that. And when we are able to be vulnerable and able to share our faults and flaws, pride goes down, right? Humility rises up. All right. Intelligence or awareness, wisdom is highlighted, while foolishness and personal preferences gets diminished, right? Sin, iniquity goes kind of like gets pushed down or gets dealt with, while morality, maturity rises up. And in those places, after we leave, we're better men for it. And we are in a place where we are sound ourselves, secure in ourselves, which allows us to be good husbands, good fathers, good brothers, good co-workers, good leaders. And really everybody that came on the call, they were all leaders in some capacity, right? And that's why I have that motto, right? That tagline, no man leads alone, because we all lead in some capacity, which actually brings me to our topic for today. Yesterday, I was talking to my son. So I work for the school district here in our area, and I do kind of like a side gig, part-time situation with the Boys and Girls Club. And so, you know, I'll work in the morning, and then I'll drive down to the Boys and Girls Club in the afternoon. And so, and so yesterday, my son, he was like, uh, "Daddy, could you not go to the Boys and Girls Club tomorrow?" I was like, "Why is that, Prince?" And he goes, "Because I want to spend time with you." I'm like, "Okay, no problem." So I start to really and this will be a whole nother topic we'll get into as we unfold the podcast after the lives. One of our episodes is going to talk about time. We're going to have a special brother come on and help me with that conversation. But I recognize that my time is important, and a lot of times more valuable than money. And so I offer my time just the way things work currently in my life. I offer a lot of my time for resources, right? For money. And so, but what I really want more than money is my time, right? And so if I have the money to be able to use the time how I want to use it, that would be an ideal situation. It just so happens that I have to use some of my time in order to acquire money so that I can get that money to build wealth so that I can buy back my time. More on that on future episodes. But even where I am right now, it is very important to me to be able to spend time with my family, spend time with my son, spend time with my wife. It just so happens that my wife's love language is time. She likes to say, I spell love Time. And as much as I got to do everything to support the family, man, things just don't work out when I don't give her time. It really doesn't. And so I recognize that as much as I want to grind, as much as I want to just do what I need to do, I have to prioritize my family with me, right? I can go and work and make sure that they have everything that they need and I can provide for them. But if I don't spend time with them and I'm thinking I'm doing well, I'm being a good provider, I'm being a good father and a good husband by providing for my family, and my family just no relationship because of time. You know what I'm saying? So things may not be perfect as far as having everything we want, but I have to allocate time. That actually is what keeps us together. That's what keeps us bound together. That's what keeps us, you know what I'm saying, cohesive, a cohesive unit, family unit. And then it's in that security, in that space of we in this together, that I can then be deployed and do what I got to do. So I say all that to say it was nothing for me to tell my son, yo, it's all good. Um, I'll be home tomorrow. So tomorrow is today, and so today I didn't go to the Boys and Girls Club, and so I came home, did some work on the computer, and I went out to go play some soccer with my son. He wants to play organized soccer, and so I'm kind of getting him ready with that. His mom would work out with him and have him run and stuff. So today we did a lot of drills, running around with the ball, what's what they call it, dribbling the ball, doing like he wants to be a goalie too. So we did some goalie drills for goalie, all of that stuff. So anyways, we spent a lot of time outside, even though it was cold, it was frigid outside. But I'm like, look, they play soccer, excuse me, they play soccer whether it's sunny, rainy, cold, whatever. I actually played a little bit of soccer in high school, and we would have games. And it so happened that it's always weird that the games would happen in the coldest times, you know. So it was. I'm like, look, we got to do what we got to do. Let's go get our workout in. So we had some fun. We were there till pretty much, it got dark, and then we came inside and went about our evening. And so this kid is something else, right? And so we're getting ready to kind of wind down for the night, and he goes, Daddy, thank you for not going to the Boys and Girls Club today. I'm like, you're welcome, buddy. I'm like, you had fun? He's like, yeah, I had fun. I'm like, good. He goes, so you can go to the Boys and Girls. Since you didn't go to the Boys and Girls Club today, you can go to the Boys and Girls Club tomorrow. I'm like, okay. son, I'm glad I have your permission to go to work. Like, what? Yeah, so it was good. It was good times. But what I realized, besides the whole time thing, right? That time is really precious to him. Um, he really values it, like just hanging out with him. He really loves and appreciates that. That's what makes him secure, right? Um, and so the other thing I learned besides the whole time thing is just I'm like, God is crazy. You gave me a whole person to pour into, a whole person to love on, a whole person to make sure he goes in a path where he will be successful, not just financially, but emotionally, mentally, have a good moral, what I'm saying, compass, to be able to navigate and make good decisions, being able to hear, even more on a spiritual level, being able to hear the Holy Spirit and navigate his life based on what God wants him to do. Um, like I get to instill all of that on a person. Like some people, you mentor, right? Some people you have an influence over. Some people you can give some advice. They may or may not receive your advice. But this person God gave me to groom from a young person, you know what I'm saying? Before he could even speak, I was there to give him language. Before he could even do, I was there to model actions. God gave me this whole person, right? To be able to pour who I am in him, to breathe what I am in him, just like God breathed in us and gave us his personality. We were made in his image and in his likeness, not just because he molded us physically, but he inspired us, right? He quickened our mortal body by breathing life into us, right? We became alive, animated beings because of what he did. The physical part would still have been dirt if God didn't breathe in us. But not only did he sculpted us, but he also made us alive. And even though the alive part, the life in him is given by God directly, the fact that everything that inspires his decision, his brain activity, I get a part in instilling that in him. Now we talked about weighty responsibilities, a few lives back in terms of marriage. But as much as weighty this is even more so, even more so. And so I just realized that when God said, bear fruit and multiply, he meant that thing. And it wasn't just be fruitful and multiply in the sense of have a whole bunch of kids. He's like, the same thing I did in the beginning when the word became flesh, right? And when I said the word became flesh, I'm not even talking about Jesus. I'm talking about the Logos word spoke and said, let there be light. And there was physical expression from his spiritual vernacular. He articulated speech, and that created a physical realm. And the realm that was without void became organized. He created structure. And we talked about structure the other day, right? We have created a structure, systems, right? So he created these systems and set them in place. And when everything was created, and he said, everything is good. And then he created mankind and he made us in his image, in our likeness. The same way he has dominion, he gave us dominion. The same way he has free will, he gave us free will. The same way we're able to rule and reign, he's able to rule and reign, we're able to rule and reign. The same way he was able to create, we're able to create. The same way he's able to love, we're able to love. Everything that he is We are, because he placed that in us. We are mini hymns. And then God allowed me to have a mini me, that I may replicate the good things, the good part of me in him, so that he can go then and replicate himself in the next generation. Huge, huge, a huge responsibility. And to be honest with you, I am honored and I am thankful that he's given me such a responsibility. Man, that kid is a beautiful kid. He joy is his anointing. I was talking to at the boys. He comes to the Boys and Girls Club with me sometime, and I was talking to the soccer coach that works there, and he says, "Man, my day, I'm a lot happier when he's around." He goes, "My day is always better when he's around." And he's like, it's funny, right? He goes, some kids, you talk to them, they're like, but him, like, it's like you're speaking to an adult. He has an old soul. I'm like, yep, that's Prince. And so man, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to have this person that God has a plan for, this person that God has, he has a plan for him, a purpose for him, right? He has a job, a mission for him to do in his young adult life as well as his adult life. And he's given me the responsibility to rear him as he takes off and be completely in his mature state, the person that God has called him to be. And I get to be a part of that. And so it's a beautiful thing. I love it. I love it. I love it. And even though, right, even though it is glorious in a lot of ways, remember, Memoir Men, this is a place where we deal with our issues. And when we have a lot of issues, when we have to deal with a lot of issues, it's hard for us to then navigate. It's hard for us to then really, with authenticity, um, move in such a way where we can offer the person that God gave us to replicate ourselves, offer him everything that we need in quality. When we're dealing with our own insecurities, when we're dealing with our own inadequacies, and when we're dealing with our own iniquities. Come on, let's be real. I got my own stuff that I'm trying to navigate, even from my childhood. And even though things are not perfect in my heart, in my mind, I must give the best version of myself to this person that I must raise up. Sometimes that alone can create a mental breakdown for a man who's not self aware. To the point where every time you see the child, you actually see your faults and your flaws, your inability to really be everything that God has created you to be because of fears, trauma, whatever it is. And then you, like a word I use all the time, end up abdicating your role because it hurts. It is too hard. It is too painful to go through the psychological healing that's necessary, because that is a painful process. And if you are too fearful, or you just won't, I don't want to be rude or sound um, sound like I don't have compassion, but if you refuse to be man enough to deal with your stuff, then it's hard for you to be present for this young kid. And so instead of everything good in you goes to him, it is the everything that is not so good that goes into the next generation, what we call the generational curse, if you will. And so he or she carries your faults and your flaws and your inadequacies and your insecurities and even your iniquities. So what do we do? What do we do in that case? Same thing for our weighty conversation in regards to marriage. The same God that gave us the responsibility is the same God that's going to give us what we need in order to be successful. What does that look like? Mm. Well, I can't give it to you in a couple of words here on this live. This is a lifelong process, a lifelong dealing, pulling roots off, planting new seeds, pulling weeds off, tilling grounds, watering seeds, allowing things to be in the darkness of the soil. The weight of the earth is on top of it. This is where we germinate, die, right? A seed dies, germinates, and then grow roots. This is where we are anchored to a strong foundation. And then and only then do we get to a place where we sprout and grow and mature. And then lastly, bear fruit. Fruit is full of seeds that God will use to plant another harvest. Nature is screaming out what God requires from us. But it all starts with our hearts being good ground. More on that tomorrow. Till then, no man leads alone. So let's come together in this space. Let's leave that solitary life alone and live a life of solidarity here in this community. Together as men, hashing out our stuff so that we can be the best version of ourselves, so that we can be there for those that God has given us influence over. Love you, fellas. Have a good night.